Okay guys, so in this video I'll be showing you how to authenticate a user with Firebase. So first of all, to start we have to initialize Firebase. So we're going to do Firebase the Flutter binding, and we're going to do the Firebase app. We're going to initialize the app. So this is the first thing to do before you start using your Firebase. So right here I got a string. I just wanted to verify that my API key is available. So I set my Firebase options.api key. I got my API key. So if you go to the console, this is my Firebase console for the app. I'm gonna click here. So in authentication, right, we're going to click on the get started to get started with it. So when you click on get started, you have to enable your email and password. Under authentication you have the sign in method, so you make sure that you enable email and password. Should I do this? Okay, I'm not gonna do this. Let me turn this off. So when you enable it, you save it, and when you save it, you see it tell you enabled. So now we can work with email and password authentication. So right now I am in the signup.dat file, and in this .dat file I'm gonna get rid of all of this for now. Do I need this? Okay, I'm gonna get rid of all of this here. I don't need this for now. Okay, so now we're gonna start, and I'm gonna say Firebase Auth Flutter. Okay, so now we go to the pubdev and we get the plugin. You have to get first of all install your Firebase plugin. So we get the plugin from there, and yes, I'm coming. So we get the plugin from the pubdev. We go to installations, and in installations here we get the plugin and we get the import statement. So I already have the plugin installed. I'm just gonna copy this import statement here, and I'm gonna paste it here. So this way we can now make use of the plugin after you install it in the pubspec file. So we import the Firebase Auth package here, and now we're writing in the code here. We're going to create a class that returns a future. It's going to return a string, and this class we're going to call it sign in user. You see, so to sign in a user we need the email, we need the password. I'm passing in two strings to the function, email and password string. So I'm going to use this email string, I'm going to use this password string to sign in the user. So they're actually required here. So you're going to say add required. I'll say okay. It's gonna be, you say redundant use. Okay, you have to use the optional parameter bracket here. Okay, so now I'm using the add required keyword here, so that whenever you call the function, it will be required that you pass in your email and you pass in your password. Okay, so now we have the email and we have the password. So the next thing to do is to create a Firebase Auth variable. We're going to call it Firebase Auth. This variable will be in your signup class. Yes, so you create a Firebase Auth variable. And coming down here, we're going to call Firebase Auth. Okay. Let's make this final. We're gonna make it final here. And so coming down here, okay, so the best way to do is we're gonna pass in a Firebase Auth variable to the function. So it's gonna be required here that we pass in a Firebase Auth variable to the function here. So now the Firebase Auth is required in the parameter now. So the next thing to do is let's put the comma there. Okay, so now this is still showing a red line because we have to initialize this variable, so we're going to just initialize it for null. Now we're going to leave it as null, and then coming down here gonna have a final. I'm gonna avoid say not final. I'm gonna have an auth here from the variable we are passing into the function. We can say auth sign in with email and password. So this method by default comes with the plugin for Firebase. So when you install the plugin, if you have the plugin installed, you can now call this method the sign in with email and password. So we're gonna try and catch any Firebase exception here. So any Firebase exception, we're gonna catch it here. So we're gonna catch an exception here called Firebase exception. So if there is an error while you're trying to sign in, then this exception will throw. So we can now get the message and we can return to the user that there is an error. So we're going to say we're printing out the error message now. So we're printing out the error message here. It's an error. So we're printing out the error message here now. Okay. So we're going to return the message because we are returning a string. The function here returns a string as a future. So the string here we are returning, if there is an error, we are going to return the error message. Okay, and we need to do this here. Okay. All right, the comma there now. So at this point, after the sign in, if sign in is successful, we're going to do something here, right? So we're going to return, or should we return? If sign in is successful, normally we're supposed to save it. So we're going to use the await keyword here, and this function is going to be an asynchronous function here. So if sign in is successful, we're going to do something here. So you can save it to your database, you can save it in the shared preferences. We're going to do that in the next video. But for now, we're just going to write a comment here, save user details. Okay. So that is it for the sign in. So we're going to have another function that returns a feature, and we're going to call this function the sign up function here. This one will enable the user sign up. So still we're going to need the email. We're going to also need the password here. So email, password. Okay, that's it. And we also the Firebase Auth. You go to sign up. We're also gonna pass in the Firebase Auth. It's gonna be required here as a parameter here. So Firebase Auth. Then we call it the auth. We call it the auth. Okay. So now the user can sign in. Now I want to create the sign up here. So let's change this name. Let's change this name to sign up user. And then up here we're gonna have sign in user. Okay. Alright, now this too will be an asynchronous function here. And almost like the sign in user, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to try. I'm gonna catch any Firebase exception here. So Firebase exception. So we're gonna catch Firebase exception. Then we're gonna print out. We're gonna print out the error here. We print out the error message. I'm gonna return the string here. We're gonna return the message here. So if there is an error while your user is trying to sign up, it's gonna return the error message. So right here, we're gonna use the await keyword. We're gonna say the auth create user with email and password. We pass in the email. And also here we pass in the password here. So that's it. So now if the sign up is successful, if user is created here, we're gonna save the details either in shared preferences or we save it still in the Firebase database, which I will do in the next video. Okay. So now we are done with the both sign up and sign in. The next thing to do is we're gonna create another function here that returns a stream. This function returns a stream a user. So this user is a Firebase user here. You look at it, it's a Firebase Auth user. So we want to check, this function will check if the user is signed in, it will check if the user is signed out. So we're going to use this function to validate if the user is signed in. We go to the sign up, we go to the home page, but if the user is not signed in, we're going to go to the login page. So we're going to validate that using this function, and we're calling this function check if. Okay, I should change this name. I'm going to call this function already registered. So if the user is already registered, we go to the home page, but if the user is not registered, we go to the sign up page. So we're going to check that. I'm going to show you how to do that here. So we check if user is already registered. So in here, it's also, we're going to use the Firebase Auth to check if the user is registered or not. We're going to use the Firebase Auth. It's going to be an optional parameter here. It's going to be asynchronous. So you're going to say auth state changes. We're going to scroll down. We're going to use the auth state changes. So right here it will return a user. So if a user is registered, it will return a user. If a user is not registered, it will return null. So that is equal to user. Okay. It's going to be an asynchronous function here. So we use the await keyword. And then we return the stream. So this would be a feature because we're using the await keyword and it's asynchronous, meaning that it should return a future here. Okay, so that is it. So now we have 3 functions: one to check the user, one to sign in, and we have one to sign up. So the next thing to do is let's see, what should we do now? So in the pubspec file, if you check it, I want to use the getX library, so I'm going to go to the getX for Flutter, because I want to use the getX to update the UI when the data from the Firebase changes. So I'm going to install the getX. I'm going to install getX for the state management here. So the getX is a powerful library for state management to help you update the UI easily. So we're going to install this package now and get 4.1.3. We're going to install it. So we go to the pubspec file and we put the getX library for state management. We're going to use this later on in the video series. So we run the pubget. This might take a while, and then we import. We also have to copy this import statement. So you import this. I'm going to copy it and I'll use it here in the sign up. I'm going to copy the getX because I'm going to use that for my state management. So now it's time to design the body, but first of all we have to create a class here, and this class will be called the Firebase Service class. The Firebase Auth Service class. So now we're going to copy everything we wrote and we're going to put it inside this class. We're going to copy everything. We're going to put it inside the class. So inside the Firebase Auth service now we have different functions for sign in. So we copied everything and we put it inside the class here. So this class is going to handle all authentication, the sign up, the sign in, and it's going to have a Firebase Auth in it. So we're going to create a constructor here. We're calling this constructor the Firebase Auth service. So the constructor here is going to take in the auth variable. Okay, now, so because of this, there is no need to pass in this variable inside the constructor, you see, because we already have it now in the Firebase class. So we're going to get rid of this. We don't need this now again, because this auth variable now will come directly from the Firebase service class. So we're going to get rid of the auth variables inside the function. We don't need that. Okay. All right. So now the next thing to do is under the utils package here, we're going to create a class. In the folder here, we're going to create a class. And we call this class Firebase Auth Service class. It's the .dat file, I mean. So that is it now. I'm going to add this to my GitHub. Okay. So going back to the sign up, we're going to copy everything in this class that we have here. We're going to copy everything. I'm going to copy it, and we're going to paste it inside the .dat file. I'm trying to make my code more arranged here, just to make everything tidy. So when that is done, you see some errors here because we have some import statements that are missing. We have to import. So going back to the sign up, I'm going to copy some import statements here because we're going to need them in the Firebase service. We're going to copy this import statement too. I'm going to paste it inside the Firebase service. Okay, now the errors are out. So now we have a service, a .dat file that handles all authentication. So going back to the sign up now, we want to design the interface, the UI for the app. So for now, we're going to create a scaffold. And the scaffold would have a body. So So the body is going to be a column. So the column now is going to have children, and inside the children we're going to have a text form field. So the first text form field is going to be email, and the second one is going to be password. The text form field, we have the decoration, input decoration, and we have the border, the outline border, the outline input border. We have the keyboard type, because it's text input type email. We're going to use the email address, and okay, and here we're going to have the hint text, gonna say email. All right, so this is going to be a text form field where the user is going to write his email, and I think we're done with that here. So we're going to copy this text form field for email. I'm going to do the same thing for password. You copy it and we do the same thing for password. So right here we're going to change here, we're going to use password. Okay, so the border radius now inside the border outline, the border radius here is going to be circular, so we're going to use 10.0, and the border radius here 2 is going to be circular, so we're going to use 10.0. okay, so that is it now. So in the sign up, this should be the first screen that comes up. Now I'm going to go to my main.dat file. I'm going to change my splash screen here to my sign up screen, so that this will be the first screen you see when you run the app. I'm going to import the class. Okay, so we run the app and this is how it looks like now. You see we have the email text field and the password text field up there, but this does not look good, so we have to bring it down. So we're going to wrap the column here in a container, and then we're going to hot reload. Nothing changes, you see, nothing changes. So now we're going to wrap the container in a safe area. So the safe area will bring everything down to a suitable position. So we're going to wrap it in a widget. I'm going to wrap it with a safe area. Okay, so now we're hot reload. You would see everything comes down. It's taking time to hot reload. So okay, good, everything comes down now, but we don't need this here. So inside the column here, we're going to see the main axis alignment. So main axis alignment will be in the center. So if you hot reload now, okay, so the next thing here is to give a size box. That will be a space between the two text fields. We're going to give a size box of height. The height will be 10, and if we hot reload, you're going to see the space between the two text fields. Okay. Alright. So now the next thing to do is put a raised button. So when you click on this button, it's going to get the email and password, and it's going to sign up the user. So if you click on the raise button in unpressed here, we're going to pass in the sign up function. So that is it. Anyhow, but see now, we're going to the Firebase service. If you click on the raised button on pressed function here, you're going to have this sign up user. So now I want to sign up the user. I'm going to go back, copy this class, the sign up function here. Inside the Firebase Auth service, we have the sign up user. So we're going to go to the sign up. So inside the unpressed, we have the Firebase Auth service. Then we're gonna call the sign up user. So the sign up user will pass the email. The email will be gotten from the text form field. So before we do that, we have to call some text editing controllers for this text field. So these are the text editing controllers here. We're going to say text editing controller for email, and text editing controller for password. So we're going to initialize these. We're going to call inside the build function. We're going to have text editing controller email is equal to text editing controller. Okay, so we're also going to initialize the text editing controller for the password. That is equal to text editing controller. Okay, so coming down, we're going to put the controllers inside the text form field. So we have the controllers. I'm going to say text editing controller password, and the email controller, I'm going to have the text editing controller email. Okay. So down here, we're going to pass in, we're going to get the email from the text editing controllers now. So text editing controller dot text, we give you the email and the text editing controller here. For password, we give you the text. So now we've gotten it. All right. So if we click on the button now, the sign up function inside the Firebase service will be triggered. So right here, let's print out or should we return a string? We're going to return signed in, user signed in. The string here will be called user signed in. Okay, so if the user is created, we're going to write user signed in. Okay. Again, back to the sign up. So right here, we're going to say the await keyword. But before you use the await, you have to be an asynchronous function here. So the onPress here will be an asynchronous function. And then we have the string. So the result here will be a string. Okay. So now we're going to print out the result, right? We're going to print out the result. The result here, we're going to print it out. Okay. So we're on the right track. And if we I think everything is set now. We can now see how to sign up a user. I run the app again, and you can see the button down here. But we have to make the button better than this, so we're gonna add a background color, and we're also gonna add a text. So the color here, we're gonna use the color blue, and then the child for the button would be a text or center widget. And then the center widget will contain a text as a child. Okay, so in the child here, we're gonna have the sign in or sign up here. That's what the text you see. So the style here is gonna be a white color and gonna be bold. So the text style here, color will be colors.white and colors.bold. The font weight will be bold. Okay, that's it. So if we hot reload now, if we run the app again, we're gonna see the button changes. Okay, now you can see the button now changes. It's now a blue color, and you have the sign up button there. So that is it. So now I'm trying to sign up. I'm writing my email here. I'm using user1, and I'm seeing some error. I tried to sign up, and there's an error coming up. So the error you're seeing here, object here, no such method error. So that means that we are having a mistake here with the Firebase Auth. Number one, that's Firebase Auth. And when we call the Firebase Auth service, we did not pass in the Firebase Auth. So we have to pass it in, because we're gonna copy this. So we copy this and we pass it inside. We're gonna paste it here. And then here we call the Firebase Auth. Okay, so now I'm going to hot reload again, because the Firebase Auth, if you check it in here, the Firebase Auth is required that we pass in an auth variable. You know, it's a Firebase Auth variable is needed, so we're passing it in here. If we hot reload, we're gonna try sign up. Okay, so I'm gonna type my email. I'm gonna type my password now. So the email here is, I would use user1@gmail.com. So the password here will be user1. And it's checking in the console here. We're still seeing, it's still showing the error, object no such method error. So this actually means that the Firebase Auth again is not working here. So we have to initialize. Coming up here, I forgot to initialize my Firebase Auth. So we have to initialize it. We're going to say Firebase Auth. Going to initialize it here. So now this should work. I've solved all the errors here, so this should work. Remember to initialize your Firebase Auth. Remember to initialize it, and then you pass it into the Firebase service here. Okay, so we're gonna hot reload. And now we're gonna hot reload. I'm gonna type my email. So I'm going to say the email here is user1. user1@gmail.com. And the password here is user1. So you click on the sign up button now. You see it works now. So the user is signed up. If you check the console, you're gonna see user signed in. And if you go to the Firebase database, go to the Firebase console online, you can now see the user has been registered. So now I'm going to register another user. I'm going to call this user here joseph@gmail.com. Let me use my name. So I'm gonna say joseph@gmail.com, and the password here will be Joseph. Yeah, so that's it. So I'm gonna sign up. I'll click on the sign up button, and you see user signed in. So you go to the console and you hot reload. Myself hot reload. You refresh it, you see the user there shows. So this is how to create a user, sign up a user with Firebase using Flutter. And in the next video, we're going to upload the user profile. We're going to see the profile picture of the user. We're going to see how to update the database. We're going to see how to save the user info in the database. So for more Firebase videos coming up, you guys advise to subscribe, like, and share the video. So thank you. See you guys in the next video.